has profoundly impacted my training as it pertains to rehabbing injury prevention, just a better overall feeling of my body is the wedges from Gary Ward. And Gary is a biomechanist, he's an inventor. I've taken quite a few of his classes as it pertains to foot wedges, and essentially all we're trying to do with these wedges are fill in space in your feet to help invite sensation. So I'm going to showcase just some exercises that I want you to play around with to heighten that sensation of our foot. And you've heard me talk about this in different classes and different forums, whether that's on YouTube or Instagram, etc. Of over the years, for me and for you, we have lost the feeling of sensation in the bottom of our feet. Why is that? You know, it is the footwear. It is, the lack of play. It is sitting at the desk. It is not inviting any sort of novel or new stimulus to awaken the feet, whether that's multi-surface training, on rock beds or twigs. I'm not saying we have to go full cavewoman or caveman, but it is important to invite that novel sensation, to awaken the sensation, right? Because the brain thrives on sensation, sensory feedback from the feet. And that helps build up that connection all the way from the lower leg up to the hip, up to the, up into the brain. It goes both ways. We need that sensation to come both ways to excel at playing sports or, walking in the gait cycle or whatever. We need this novelty. We need this awakening sensation in the foot. So all you're going to do, I'm going to show you a couple of drills. All we're going to do with the wedges are we're just going to place them here at different points in the foot. So I'm going to show this one here. Hopefully I'm in the frame. We take the larger, the black wedge, and we're going to put it kind of facing like this. So the bottom half or the downward slanted half is pointed towards the midline of the foot. So we have our transverse arch, which is just the ball of the foot right here. And I call that the athletic arch. And we're going to put the base of the wedge there, right underneath the ball of the foot. And then with one of the green wedges here, you're going to place the wedge just under the heel. So what we're doing here, and you're probably not able to see it, but I just want to talk through it, is we're going to get in this split stance, and we're just going to kind of find our center, right? We're going to find where our base of our support is. And all we're going to do is we're just going to drive slowly our weight over that foot. I'm going to show you from a couple different positions and then drive out. Here, a little bit of a reach. What that reach is going to help is really transfer your weight towards that front foot. So it's almost like a 90% weight distribution on that single leg here. And then we're going to come out. And we're just going to do, 10 of these. So we're going to do a few sets. Okay, and I'm going to talk about what I'm feeling. So as I'm transitioning my weight, I want your arch to lengthen, lower, almost like it's melting into the ground. So my weight's being dispersed over this foot. My arch is melting and yielding into the ground. We need this. We need this foot shape to produce force, to get ready to transition out of and do something athletic, right? This acceptance of force here, this molding or yielding into the ground, is what allows us to spring out, to run, to jump, to whatever. If we're hitting a golf ball, we need this melting to produce force into the ground. If we can't make this foot shape, we're going to compensate and probably have some injury up the chain, knee, hip, etc. So I want you to try and notice my arch, if you can see it here. My arch should be yielding or melting into the ground. So the pressure, you should feel the pressure right here on the inside edge of the foot. That's called the medial arch. And with the knee, I'm just trying to drive it over the big toe. So knee in line with the big toe. I'm feeling like I'm trying to lower my arch. That's one. So for a lot of us, myself included, decades of playing basketball, being someone who was always running or cutting, I excelled at anything shifty or quick. That was really my game. Obviously not the tallest. I was never really able to get in this pronated state of my foot, which is what we were working on there, where your foot is yielding or melting into the ground. I have a very high foot arch. I have a tough time lengthening it. And we need this. And that was the cause of a lot of my Achilles problems. Just playing around with this has really freed up my heel, freed up my Achilles to move naturally and not compensate or take on too much of a burden than it needs to be, than it needs to. Okay, that's one drill. Another drill that we're going to do is we're going to take the same wedge, this black wedge here, and we're going to position it on the outside of our foot. Okay, so it's slanted kind of like that on the 5th metatarsal head, so like the pinky toe ball of the 5th toe. And then with the green one, we're just going to slant it that same way kind of inside. So they both look like this. So one's on the 5th toe here, the other's on the heel like that. And this is another one to kind of help with that pronation. So what's happening is this is my foot. My foot's kind of slanted in like this. So already I'm kind of feeling the sensation right here in the midfoot, kind of like the 3rd metatarsal head down into the heel and on the inside edge. And same thing here, we're just going to kind of rock forward and then rock back. Rock forward and rock back, and we're going to do a set of 10 here. You can do multiple sets. And with all of these, you're just trying to feel around, trying to feel the sensation. I want you to be able to awaken your foot up, to awaken your foot, feel like it can yield and then rise. So your foot needs to be a rigid lever and needs to have rigidity. So you can spring, and it needs to be a mobile adapter so it can lengthen and absorb force into the ground as we run, jump, cut, etc. Okay, that's another drill I want you to do. A third one is you can keep that wedge, in the green wedge, in the same place, and then we're going to take this black wedge and we're just going to position it on the ball of the 1st toe. So the first one looks like, the black wedge looks like this, the green wedge looks like that on our heel. Same thing, split stance, and then we're just going to shift and back. And then shift, remember the knee is driving in over the big toe, and then we're going to come back. What are you feeling with this? What's the foot pressure? What's the sensation? We're going to do 10 of these. Remember, we're just trying to awaken the foot. You should feel a little bit of a twisting, right? A little bit of a twisting action of the foot, which is what you need. You know, you have the forefoot that moves one way and the rear foot, the heel, that moves another way. That's what helps the foot lengthen, and that's what helps the foot rise. It doesn't just all happen as one unit. There's some sort of disassociation that happens with the foot to get it to lower and to rise, okay? It's driving that knee over the big toe, and then what are you feeling? And then just some other quick ones that I'll just show you. You can just play around with these on your own. If you are someone like myself who has played a lot of quick dynamic sports in your lifetime, you probably have, or someone who just lives in these platform shoes and never really spends a lot of time outside of their shoes. This is a great one that I have used pretty much, I mean, gosh, over the years, almost every day in my training, just to help me get my heel to move. Is this is just a way for your heel to find the ability to move to the outside, to evert, so to go that way. So why is that important? Well, oftentimes if we have any Achilles injuries or Achilles problems, tendonitis in the knee, hip problems, a lot of times it's because we have this heel bone that's just stuck. The heel doesn't necessarily move. It doesn't have a lot of range of motion, but it has some. And if it doesn't have some, what happens is, you can probably guess, something up the body has to take that on. And for me, it was my Achilles. And one of the simplest things that I did was just play around with this wedge. So the wedge is filling in space. So my heel is right there, and it's filling in space. So I'm trying to use this makeshift ground to give my heel the reference to slide to the outside. So your heel needs to go to the outside as you bend your knee. So my knee is traveling in line with my big toe, and as that's happening, we talked about the twistiness. So the forefoot, the top half of the foot, is going one way. The rear foot is going the opposite way. So it's like this. So my heel, mind-body connection, you're trying to see if your heel can move to the outside, and that's what we're doing here. And once again, as you bend your knee, you're trying to figure out, you're trying to sense that lengthening on the foot. So that one would be a great one for you to play around with on your own time. So with all these, the sensation that you will feel versus someone else, is going to be different, and that's okay. Just find maybe what works for you. Obviously, if anything's painful